This is how to decide what to charge as a coach, consultant, speaker or trainer or small business owner when we're charging fees to our clients. It's a challenge, isn't it? And it's a challenge that I ran into particularly at the start of my career as a speaker, as a coach, as a mentor, as a business growth coach and consultant. And this is what happened. I told my business and I decided that I was going to go into sales training and I was going to teach sales teams in corporates the ideas that I'd picked up over my previous 20 years in business. But I had a dilemma. I didn't know what to charge. I'd done some research and I'd looked at the marketplace to say, well, what are people charging? And to be honest, I was appalled how low it was. In fact, still today, when I talk to people about the various fees they charge for the difference that they make, I'm really surprised how low those fees are. And this goes back to another video just a few weeks ago I did, where I was talking about most people don't buy on price, they buy on value. Anyway, so I had this problem and I knew that if I didn't solve this problem, then the years following, and that's 30 years from today, were going to be different for me because I wouldn't earn the same amount of money, I wouldn't deliver the right amount of value to my clients, and it would affect me and my family. I didn't want to be the lowest in the marketplace, but in no way did I want to be cut price. I didn't want to be absolutely at the top of the marketplace, although I wanted to aim there, because at the start I didn't want to damage the opportunity of filling my diary with good quality work with good quality clients. And I certainly didn't want to be middle of the road. I didn't want to be shocked like a jobbing sales trainer where somebody said, oh, this person, Peter, is this price, and this person, John, Mary, Fred, is this price, and they're £10 cheaper and we'll go with them. I didn't want to get into that discussion whatsoever. So I sat down and thought about it and asked myself 5 questions, which has made such a difference to my life. And I want to share those questions with you now. And at the end of this video, I want to talk about the money side as well for you. So here are the 5 questions. The first question that I asked myself was, what does my client want? And it was that verb particularly. What is it they want? Now, very often what people want in a sales training situation, I'm sure you can translate this into your business, is they want sales training for their people. But it isn't right. So the second question comes into play, which is, from my point of view, I had to think, what do they need? What is it they really need rather than what it is that they want? Because I found very often in life when clients come to me and say, can you help me do this? What's happened is they've already worked out what the problem is, they've already worked out what the solution is, and they come and ask me if they can have the solution. It doesn't work that way. Not when you're dealing with, I'm not keen on the word, an expert. You and I are experts in what we do. We know what we're about. We can make a difference. We know our stuff works. It isn't ever that it doesn't work. It's people don't work it. So the stuff works, and so we are the expert. Therefore, we know better than the client often knows about what they actually need rather than what they want. So question 1, what do they want? Question 2, what do they need? Question 3, what is the value that they're trying to get out of the intervention, the training, the coaching, the mentoring, the whatever it might be, the information, whatever it is, what's the value they're trying to get out of it? I'll come back to why that's so important. Question 4, how do I add some unexpected bonuses? Something that differentiates me and my offering and my offer from whatever else there might be in the marketplace. Question 4. And then question 5, how am I perceived in my client's eyes? Am I perceived as the expert, or am I perceived as another jobbing sales trainer in the context that it was 30 years ago? How am I perceived? Now, we need to address those, so let's just go through those and I'll add some more detail that you can take away and use. And I'd urge you to answer these questions. And then I think what you'll find, as I found and still find, is that the answers prompt more questions, and then those questions have got more answers which prompt, and so on, until we get some clarity. So let's think about what is it the client wants, which is usually what they think they want. So what do they want? They want sales training. What else do they want? Well, they want profitable sales training. They want more sales that make more money. Okay, a bit better. What do they actually need? Well, firstly, what they need whatever it is that the salespeople haven't got. So some sort of, open quotes, needs analysis needs to take place to understand where people are. And you know what I found with salespeople, and this isn't me being big-headed in any way, but I've often had a laugh with sales directors and said, well, we need to give the course a name. And they said, have you got any ideas, Peter? I say, yes, let's call it Forward to Basics. And they go forward to basics. Don't you mean back to basics? Oh, no. Let's go forward to basics. We've got to get the basics right first. And I guarantee in any sales team that what will be missing is they will not have the basics in place. So we're going to need to go forward to basics. So that's what they need. What they think they want is more sales training. Actually, what they need is understanding where they are at the moment. So we've got a starting point. So different thoughts. Then, what's the value they want out of it? Because if we know the value, and let's say for this stage, the monetary value that somebody wants out of our intervention, because you and I help people solve problems or capitalize on opportunities. That's what we do, isn't it? Solve problems or capitalize on opportunities. And we share with them our knowledge, our experience, our expertise, our knowledge from the work we've done with other clients, our knowledge from the work we've done on ourselves, and most importantly, our take on all of those things, which is where the money is, by the way, our take on it. So how are we going to get them the value? And what is the value, the financial value of what it is that they want us to do for them? Because that's where we're pricing the fees against the value, the comparison with the value that we are delivering for them, or that our work and then their people deliver. That creates a value, and that's how we're pricing the fees. If we're pricing it on a day rate, there's no flexibility because we say it's X a day. But if we're pricing it on value, then that day rate becomes massively flexible. It becomes elastic. It becomes changeable, subject to the situation. So we know what the value is. Then how do we add unexpected bonuses? What is it that we can add in that differentiates us? And the way that I did that in the early days when it was just sales training that I was doing was I added in audio, video, and paper-based follow-up material. So both the salespeople and their managers could go through the material again. The managers could coach them through it. And I'll tell you why I did that. It was this. I know, and you know this to be true, that if somebody comes on a training course, particularly when they've been sent and they haven't paid for it necessarily themselves, the chances of them taking it away and then using it to the full is remote. Most training doesn't work long term. Why? Because people will never consistently do who they aren't. We know this is true. It has to gel with their beliefs, their value, their identity, their core concept. So we know that there's a likelihood the training's going to fall off. So we've got to have repeat material to reinstall the information again and again and again. And if we don't do that, this is what happens. The salespeople take the ideas away, and this applies to all sorts of different people, obviously, not just salespeople, although most people are salespeople. They take the ideas away, but they don't use them to the full, and they don't get the level of results that you and I know they could get. And then, who do they blame? If there's blame to be apportioned, who are they going to blame? Are they going to blame themselves and say, oh no, I didn't take the time to learn it properly. I haven't practiced enough. I didn't prepare enough. And therefore, that's why my sales are down. No chance. No chance. Right? What's going to happen is they're going to blame me. And that ain't right, because I know my stuff works. I know if they don't work it, it doesn't work. They've got to work it. So what unexpected bonuses can I add? Follow-up material. Help for the managers to coach them to make sure that their skills are growing and their results are growing accordingly. And then that final question, how can I be perceived even better, or better, so to where it is, in the client's eyes? Well, I've got to position myself as the go-to person, as my friend Jason says, so I become the natural, logical and emotional choice for my client. And how can I do that? Well, the first thing, as a coach, consultant, speaker, trainer, small business owner, is write a book. Is get our name on the cover of a book and establish ourselves in a particular niche in that marketplace. Again, adding different ways of adding value, having the right website, having the right paperwork, all these other things that add to our credibility, our status, our significance in our marketplace. I'll talk about the money in just a moment. I said I would do that for you. So the 5 questions are, what do they think they want? What do they need? How can I add more value for them? And what is the value they're looking for? How can I add unexpected bonuses that add even more value? And how am I perceived by my client in their eyes? If you answer those questions, I always answer them in handwriting on paper rather than typing it out, just like that connection. Then they prompt a few more questions, which I can then answer. Then I get clarity. Let's talk about the money. So let's imagine that using these ideas, and rather than pricing on days or whatever it might be, we price on value, you could add, for the sake of a number, £1,000 a week, £200 a day in earnings. And it is earnings. You can't make money, as Earl Nightingale said in Lead the Field. You can't make money, you've got to earn money. It's only the mint that makes the money. So £1,000 a week. So if you're going to be in business for, say, 20 years, that is £1 million. Because £1,000 a week for 50 weeks a year-ish round terms, that's 50 grand, times 20 years, that's £1 million. So when I got back 30 years, when I asked these questions first, I was looking forward. I didn't know I was going to be in the business for 30 years, but 30 years, and it was more than £1,000 a week. 30 years at more than £1,000 a week is a lot of money. You understand what I'm saying here? So look, I would urge you to think really carefully on this. I'm sure you do think carefully about it anyway, but let's make sure that we are charging for the value we deliver, because people are very happy paying for value. Please take these ideas away, answer those questions, see what answers are, see what the questions are from the answers and onwards. And by all means, let me know. If you've enjoyed this video, there's plenty more of these about. And in the meantime, I wish you every success in all your adventures in life. From me, Peter Thompson. Until the next time, goodbye for now.